Okay, everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here. We'll start with some introductions. So we'll start with everybody on Zoom. I'll give you guys a little bit of background about what today's presentation is going to be about. I'm super excited. If you are in the retail world and you are interested in increasing your sales and some visibility through some omni-channel options, being able to sell online and dip a little bit into the e-commerce side of it, this is going to be a really good presentation for it. We're really working on some cool partnership stuff as well as in the future to be able to get your products out there. So I'm super excited. So we'll get right into it. Michelle will do an introduction on herself when she hops on here. But we'll start with our business owners first. Willis, if you can hear me, we'll have you start off first. If you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business does, and then we'll move on next to James.
Okay, I'm Willis Anderson, the proud owner of My Daddy's Sauces LLC. I have an assortment of flavorful sauces that I came up with. I started as a hobby, and now it's getting to be a business.
Cool. I've got one of your hot sauces out here, so maybe I'll promote that one on the hot one that you left. So
Well, I have my shirt on. So do you see it?
okay, it's recording, but we'll get it on there for you. And then next we have James Grossness.
Grossness.
Grossness. Sorry about
Yeah,
that. If you want to
that's all
introduce
right.
yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm James Grossness. I'm a marketing specialist and just getting ready to start my own consulting business. But for the past 20 years, I've been working in customer acquisition, cross-sell, and retention, and most recently specializing in the personalization of reaching out to those customers in the retail industries.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, James.
Thanks.
And then looks like we have somebody from Venture Portland.
Hey everybody, I'm Jacob Falkenberg, Communications Director at Venture Portland, and we are a nonprofit organization that supports the Portland Business Association through grants and training and marketing. So we work with a lot of retailers, and yeah, just excited to learn some info that we can take back to them and share with them.
All right, James, thank you. Welcome. Excited to have you here. Jacob. And then I'm Alex Gebrab. I'm the Soul District Business Navigator. I am here with Soul District for the last 2 years, supporting our business owners in many ways. One of them being able to bring these type of workshops to you to be able to educate and get as much information as we can to our small business owners within our district here in Northeast Portland. So next we'll have our in-person introductions, and then we'll start with you, ma'am. If you want to just tell us.
Sure, I'm Sonia. I'm the owner of Say Social Gift Baskets LLC.
Yep.
I promote health and wellness through aromatherapy, bath and body products.
Okay. And this will work really good for you, Sonia. So I know you're gonna have a good time with this workshop today. And then next to you, Sonia, we got Mrs. Shannon there. You want to do a quick intro on yourself there?
I'm Shannon Rickman, and I am with ShopDot, business development manager for them, and we've been working hard with the different business districts to get something going so that we can help community and support local business.
All right, welcome. Shirley?
I'm Shirley Miner, and I am a community advisor. I'm now a volunteer for Soul District. I worked here for about a year and a half.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Hi, my name is James. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm in blockchain technology. So I'm in this area, and then just wanted to start a project in Portland, in this district. So I just wanted to learn more about this here.
Well, this is the first great place to stop at first. So we got you. All right, sir. We got DJ in the back.
DJ Tutelli. I represent Rivermark Community Credit Union. We support a lot of small businesses in the area, specializing in access to capital. So here to learn a little bit more about retail and e-commerce. See how we can further partner together.
Thank you, DJ. Welcome. And then we have Annalise.
Annalise Raz, and I work at Preston Portland. I'm a project manager for our affordable commercial tenancy initiatives, which just translates to creating programs and helping businesses that have brick and mortar locations.
All right, welcome, and then thank you to everyone else that's here. Our Soul District team that's making this possible for us. We got our media team here doing all the recording, make sure all the stuff works. So we'll jump right into it. We've got Michelle here, and then if you guys have any questions, let's try to save it for later. But if it's something that's urgent as we're going along, go ahead and put it in the chat box, and we'll reply to it as we go along. So Michelle, I'll have you take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm Michelle Huie. I'm the founder of two companies, Vim and Vigor Stylish Compression Socks. I'm not wearing them right now, but Shannon is. And ShopDot, which is the platform that we develop specifically for small businesses to help them sell more. So I come from a family of small business owners. My mom had a hair salon in Chinatown, New York, in a tenement building. And then my dad had an ice cream store. Anyone from the East Coast knows Carvel ice cream. I don't know, some East Coasters know it, but he had a Carvel ice cream store. And so I feel very passionately about small businesses and helping them really kind of develop and grow. Let me see how this works. So a little bit about my business journey. So I started Vim and Vigor about 10 years ago, and we were growing really fast, 300% growth rate, 200% growth rate year over year. In fact, we made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in 2018. So we grew really quickly, but we did it at the expense of profit, right? Like you kind of have to make choices. Do I spend all my money into growth or do I not grow as fast and just become more profitable? And so it's this constant dilemma that you're dealing with as a small business. And so we grew really fast, but we had a significant amount of debt, to be honest with you, because you have to make a decision, especially in those early stages. Got us in trouble because when you're a small business, you have to show a profitable company in order to get loans, right? You can't get loans if you don't have profit. And for my first business, it was a bootstrap company. I was able to get an SBA loan for that in order to pay for my initial round of inventory. But as I grew my business, it was really challenging because I wanted to grow fast, but at the sacrifice of profit. So in 2018, 2020, I scaled back my business and really started to focus on who my core customers were. It was around the time of COVID, but around that time, we started to figure out we need to start becoming profitable. We have to maintain a healthy business and not just sacrifice profit for growth. And so, with that and with COVID, we saw a significant drop in our business, 25% decline. And I know a lot of businesses suffered during that time as well. I then spent another 2 years really rebuilding my entire business. And anyone who's had a business for long enough, it's not like you have one business. It's like you have 10 businesses within that one business, right? You're constantly rebuilding and learning and evolving. And, with that, I started to diversify my channels. With my initial part of Vim and Vigor, my compression sock company, I sold to a lot of brick and mortar retailers. I didn't do a ton of e-commerce, but then I realized I really needed to think of my business as an omni-channel business and go where the customers are at, not just, looking at one channel to grow my business. And in 2020 and 2022, I really started to create more of this omni-channel marketing approach to reaching my customers, and I doubled down on that. Now in 2023 and now we've seen significant growth. We're still bootstrapped, 30% growth in our top line, 200% growth in our net profits, and a 25% net profit margin. And so this was coming from a couple 5 years ago, even when we were negative profit, to being able to rebuild my company, mainly because of doing a couple of things, really thinking about the omni-channel experience, as well as really focusing on who our core customers were. So I just wanted to show this to show that growth isn't linear, right? Having a business is not just like up and to the right. You hear all these stories, you read all these glamour stories about successes. All you hear about are successes. People don't talk about the challenges as often. And it's kind of deceiving and a little bit, you have a little bit of imposter syndrome. You're like, gosh, look at all these businesses that are crushing it. And so even in my early phases of growth, people may have read all these articles, Inc. 5000, but they don't know behind the scenes that I was not a profitable business, right? And so you have to think about what type of business you want to grow. Do you want to have a lifestyle business? Do you want to grow really fast? Do you want to sell quickly? Or do you want to have this and really give it to your children or your grandchildren? You really have to think about that when you're thinking about your business as well. So I think in order to go into where we are now, you have to think about kind of where we've been in the past, kind of, I would say 30 years of retail. These are some recent headlines, right? Macy's closing, Sears closing, Body Shop closing. And you're constantly hearing this, like, you know, what the heck's going on in retail? And these headlines have been happening for the past 10 years. So if you really think about kind of what's been happening, I think it's really important to kind of see where we've been. We all know in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, you saw proliferation of the suburbs and growth of malls, right? With those malls came these anchor stores like the Macy's, the Sears, the Dillard's, which became anchors. And as a 90s kid, right, like mall culture was my life. That's like, oh, what would you go to the mall and hang with friends, go to a double or triple matinee movie at the theater, right? We all know that story. But things have really changed in terms of the mall culture that we've seen over the past couple of years. So let's talk about what exactly has happened. So what happened? Well, number one is e-commerce is what the biggest one. We know in like the late 90s, Amazon and eBay really started the initial e-commerce business, right? They had their own online store. They started, Amazon started off in books, and then they started to grow in other things. But that was really kind of I would say the e-commerce has been going around, internet has been around longer than that, but it was kind of these really niche kind of engineering people kind of developing websites. It wasn't anything in kind of mass culture where people are using. Then you come Amazon and eBay, where people are like, huh, look at this online sales thing. And I remember even up to like I would say 2002, like my cousins and sisters were too scared to actually buy anything. They made me buy things on Amazon because they were like, what is this online sale business, right? It was like kind of this thing that people started to use. But it was really relegated to these big companies that can afford to build these websites and start to sell online, right? Because you had to have so much technical expertise. Then comes these technology platforms that come about in 2006 or 2011. The Shopify's, which you may have heard of, BigCommerce, WooCommerce. And what those platforms did is it democratized the ability for anyone to create an online store and start selling, right? Before it was like if you were a tech developer, then you were able to develop your website. But now with the Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, anyone could say like, I'm going to sell something. I'm going to stand up my website. I'm going to, get orders in. They're going to collect my money, and then I'm going to pick, pack, and ship it to the customer. So it's really taking what we've seen happen in physical retail and reach a wider audience of people, of consumers. So that happened. And then you really saw the jump, I would say, as you can see here in e-commerce. Then fast forward, and that was been happening, but it was growing at 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, nothing crazy. Then COVID, right? COVID jump started considerably, where 20% of retail happened online, but still 20%, And what we're seeing now, it's dropped back down to 15%, which is following the normal kind of growth rate where it would have been had COVID not happened in terms of the impact in e-commerce. So, it's really interesting kind of to see where it is. And at the end of the day, e-commerce now is still only 15%. Still, retail is still happening in the physical store. So, this is kind of a slide to show these massive growth rates during the COVID time period. But you're seeing it really, really kind of not only going back to where it was, but kind of declining in terms of the growth rate. And there's a couple of reasons for that I'm going to go into. One, there's a couple of things. Number one is the number of retail stores in the US is growing, twice as many store openings as closings in 2021. So I think brick and mortar physical locations are really, really strong. And also, if you look at the next generation of shoppers, you have the Gen Zs. They're actually going, what are they doing? They're dressing like the 90s. Everything about, they like 90s music. Britney Spears is trending again. Like all these things, right, are happening. And you're seeing kind of this Gen Z culture embracing kind of the 90s way of consuming. And another thing that I didn't mention earlier in the previous slide, what was also happening here is in 2018, a key generation became the largest living generation in the country, which is a millennial generation, right? Millennials are anyone generally born between 1980 and 2000. And they're the first generation that started to use the internet and e-commerce, prior to that in a really massive way, right? They had it from a lot of them from birth to even just being a teenager, right? And so you also have that generation becoming the largest living generation, and also the generation that has the most money to spend too. But their influences are on social media. They're the ones who got the initial start on social media, before anyone else. And so I think there's a lot of kind of factors that play into what was happening there. But I think that the key thing is really the Gen Zs, and the Gen Zs really wanting that in-store shopping experience. Another component that we're also seeing too is what we're calling kind of like endless aisle fatigue, right? You go on Amazon, you search for something, you have all these products. You don't know if those reviews are real. You don't know if they're fake. And so you're really utilizing the physical store and the person who owns that store, right? That personal experience to curate products for you. Tell me which pot to buy. Tell me, what beauty products to buy, what wellness products to buy, because you're already doing that heavy lifting. You're doing that work for the customer. They're not having to sift through mountains of different products out there, because also with the democratization of anyone being able to make and sell things also comes so much choice, and what we're seeing now is a fatigue on choice. It's almost like overwhelming. And so, those are some factors that are kind of leading to people wanting to go to people who are telling them kind of what to do and what to buy in that way. And so I think there's a couple of things there. Like I said before, in real life, shopping experiences still represent 85% of all retail sales. And what's really interesting is I would say 2015 to 2018, there were a ton of direct-to-consumer brands that got into the market. And what are most of those brands doing? Opening up physical stores, right? But it's really funny because for the first 5 years of when they launched, they were all like, oh, DTC, we're digitally native, right? Everything about them was that. And the reality is, they know that they need to be omni-channel. In order to be omni-channel, it's not just online, but it's also having a physical, kind of experience where people can go in, touch, and feel. And so that is a really interesting thing. In fact, so much so that direct-to-consumer brands now, they're no longer, like, there's no such thing as a DTC brand, really, because if you're going to launch a direct-to-consumer type product, you have to have a plan for what's your plan for actually getting into physical store. Are you going to open up your own store with just your products? Are you going to get into a big box store like a Target or Walmart? Are you going to work with independent retailers? Like, what's your strategy, with that? Also, during that time, too, you had so many investors investing in direct-to-consumer brands, but they realized that investing in direct-to-consumer brands is a lot harder. It's not the same model as investing in tech, because it costs so much upfront money for inventory. The model doesn't work to have such a meteoric growth rate that the investors are expecting. And so, there's a lot of different factors here, but I think the big thing is, brands recognize that they need to have more of this omni-channel approach, and they recognize they need physical experiences where their customers can touch and feel. Another major component of this is during the time when those Shopify stores, all those stores came up, what else started to mature? Well, social media, right? So Facebook, for example, or Meta, you launch as more of a kind of a social app. But what they did is that's not how they really monetized. They monetized by allowing for ads, which is a big part of the industry. I mean, they're still, from a stock market standpoint, doing very, very well. And so their ability to monetize and capitalize on their audience, where brands can pay money to surface in front of customers that may buy their brand's products, started to become a lot more mature, as well as Google. So between kind of Meta and Google, you had those rising up in addition to more brands coming onto the market, in addition to these platforms allowing for anyone to sell. And it all happened within like a 5-year period, which is crazy. So a lot of stuff has happened, and millennials, right? Like, so there's so many things that happen within that 2005 to 2015 period that really has led to kind of where we are. But it's still, 45% of shoppers still shopped physical stores more than 30 times in the last 12 months. And 71% of consumers are now shopping in physical stores as often or more than even before the pandemic. So what I'm trying to say here is, like, physical store, that there was so much rhetoric and so much talk over, in like 2015 to 2020 is like, stores are gone, it's all about online. And there was so much talk about that. And I actually launched my product not online, right? I did have an online store, but I really drove working and partnering with my brand with physical like retailers. And, people thought it was crazy because they were like, what are you doing? Why are you not investing in online? And physical stores are dead. Look at where it's played out, right? Where every single, even direct to consumer brand now is like, okay, we need to figure out how we have brick and mortar retailers help sell our product. At the end of the day, you're utilizing them as a partner. You're making really great product and you're focusing on that. They're the ones building community. They're the ones who are, recommending and curating products. They're creating kind of authority and trust within your customer base. And that is an important kind of aspect that we're seeing. And I think that this is what we're going to see for a while, and then until we know what the next technology or next iteration is. Any questions on this before I kind of move on to kind of the next section? No. So now comes to kind of your store, your business. And, the question, the very kind of generic question is like, what's your story? Who are you? And I think one thing that I've seen over the past 10 years when I've had the opportunity to interact with different businesses. And I'll give an example of one business in my town of Missoula, Montana. There's this one business where they've been around for 24 years. And they have they are clothing gift store, and they have a very specific aesthetic. They're kind of the hipster vibe, the 90s vibe, but they've remained true to who they are, like the type of clothes they are. The customers know that they're going to find that type of style, that type of trends in their store. And what's trending now, as we just talked about earlier, the kind of the 90s look, right? So they're crushing it. Down the street is another type of store, but what they did was they were constantly chasing kind of what, like the shabby chic, then it was the minimalist, then it was, the glam, and they kept kind of changing based on their trends that were happening. And recently I chatted with this one business owner, and their business is not doing great. And when I kind of took a step back, we were kind of talking about this is like, who is your customer? Because when you decide to make a change or try to capture everyone, you end up getting no one, because they don't know what your point of view is. And then not only that, but when you make a change, you just lost all your previous customers, right? When you're buying products, you're curating or whatever that is differently, you lost the previous customers that you have, because they're there to kind of buy for this kind of look that they like to wear. And so that is a really clear thing to think about is, what's your story? I'm sure many people, when you guys start businesses, you think, what's my vision statement? What's my mission? It is important. It's kind of your North Star. What's your guiding principle for who you are? Another thing to think about is kind of who is your ideal customer, right? And like I said earlier with my story is, I started to really think what my core focus was, who my core customers were, and focusing on them, because what those customers are spending a lot more money buying my product than these other customers. So who are they? How do I speak to them more, and how do I get more of them? And that's where I was able to really turn my business around. Another main component of that is, when you're thinking about all the effort you take to bringing in a new customer, it's a lot of work. It's not just bringing in that one customer to make that one purchase. It's thinking about that one customer and how do you constantly serve them, right? How do you think about the customer as a whole customer? What problem are you trying to solve when they're coming into your store? So let's say someone's coming into your store, they're like, I'm going on a trip and I need, some clothes, for my trip. Great. They're coming in with a specific problem and they're coming to you for that solution. So, okay, great. I've got clothes. I've got compression socks. I've got this nice little toiletry bag. It's like we're kind of really thinking about not just like that one transaction, but really thinking about how are you really solving their problem in a very, very different way. And the next thing is, think about those kind of emotional connections that you have had with your customer. Everyone's had one, right? Where they have a story, where they talk to a customer and they kind of share with you kind of why they shop with you. And it's like, and the way I think about it is kind of the do, think, feel. When they go to your store, the do is like the most basic level. I'm there to buy something, to have a transaction. But what's that next level, which is think? What do I think when I think of your business, right? And then the ultimate is really, how do I feel when I think of your business? And in marketing and in general is like you're really trying to figure out the feel, because emotionally engaged customers are 3 times more likely to recommend your store, 3 times more likely to repurchase, less likely to shop around, and frankly, they're not as price sensitive. Like I have a running store that I go to in Missoula. They do fittings. I know the owner. I know, I hear story about their kids, and I pay full price for all my sneakers at their store, right? And happily. And it's because I feel a certain way. They sponsor all these races. They're super active in the community. And because I see all that, I have this emotional connection to shopping there. And it's an experience for me that's beyond the do, which is just pure transaction. So, these are kind of the things to think about when you're doing your store. And I know it can be hard because so many times we're so busy. You're constantly working in your business, but sometimes it's good on occasion to step outside to work on your business, right? And to kind of evaluate who your customers are in a different way. So what I was talking about earlier is omni-channel marketing needs to be part of the customer journey. So what do I mean by omni-channel marketing? Omni-channel is a lot of channels in pure definition. And it's what's pretty awesome is that most of the people who I'm chatting with here, they have a lot of you have a physical store. It's a very kind of personal relationship. Most of these DTC brands would kill to have what you guys have, right? Because a lot of people can kind of start a DTC brand. Remember, they can just start an online store and start selling business. So it's really thinking about how are customers finding your business? Are they finding it via Google searches, social media, word of mouth, TikTok, whatever that may be. And it's not just somebody walking by, right? And seeing your physical store and kind of going in, but all thinking about kind of all the different ways. And then are you there? Like, are you actually present there to allow the customer to find you? Do you have a Yelp page? Or do you have Google My Business? Do you have reviews on Google My Business? Are you search engine optimized? And we'll go over that in a little bit more. But these are important components to, right, just the overall awareness of your business, right? The next part and this kind of funnel is a very kind of typical kind of high level funnel that is used in marketing in every single business, because this is just what business is: awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty. How you go about doing it, though, is very custom to you. So the next part is consideration. How are customers actually considering walking into your store, making the effort to go in and actually make, that component? And a lot of it is word of mouth and reviews, right? How does your website present too? Because a lot of times how somebody's website presents, they kind of make that association. That's kind of what your physical store is like. So they think of your website as an extension of your store. And so it's making sure that not only you have some type of online presence for those people who are in the consideration phase, they found you, they're now going onto your website to get a sense for like, is this business going to solve my problem, right? Like in essence. And they're going to make a snap judgment by going on your site if they think your business can solve their problem. And so again, are you guys showing up in the way that you want to be perceived? That's an important component. The next layer is conversion, right? So people are aware of you, people are considering shopping. And let's say you got all that really tight, and now they're coming into your store and they're ready to make a purchase. They're now in the conversion stage. And that part is the customer service, right? It's about providing that education. You guys are the authority there. And then, kind of taking that and actually, and also, do you have the products and the services that they're actually looking for? So they think that they can get what they need and have their problem solved by going into your business. Now, can you deliver, right? This is a key component, and we're going to go into this more heavily because you did all this work, right? Like, the last thing you want is to lose a customer in conversion. You already did the awareness. You were there. You're present. People saw you. They went on your site. They're like, that business can solve my problem. And then they're right there to make the conversion and to actually give you their money to help them solve their problem. And so it's like that step, don't lose in that moment, because, and you'll know it too, if they're already in your store, they made the effort to drive there, they made the effort to find parking, they made the effort to walk in. Don't lose them at that moment, right? So really think about that. And then the last part is loyalty. So how do you continue? You get that customer in, they like your product, you solve that problem. Now what else? How do you retain that customer? Because the last thing you want is to put all this, have a leaky bucket of a funnel, right? You're putting all this energy, bringing people in, but you're losing that. They're either not the right customer, or they're not, converting into an actual customer. Then maybe you're targeting the wrong people, right? So if the people time and time again walking to your store and not making a purchase, there's something to be said about that. So I look at this as well, even for my online store. So I look at what's the traffic, what's the website traffic that I get into my business, and what's my conversion rate. On average, I think an online store conversion rate is like high one, so like 1.8 to around 2.2%, right? So that means of the number of people going on my site, if I see a lot of traffic coming in but I have a low conversion, I start thinking I'm not doing a great job bringing in the right people because they're not converting, or I'm not doing a great enough job. They are the right people, but I'm not doing a good enough job on my website, because that's my store, right? They're like coming in. I'm not doing a good enough job providing the education, presenting the products, whatever they need to be able to make a purchase. And so these are numbers that you could really, if you even spend a weekend thinking about it, right? Like, think about the number of people that walk into your business. Think about like how many people actually like make a purchase. These are all things to even take a snapshot, and you can do it for 1 week, right? Like, have your staff and your team like think about that for a 1 week period, to really understand where you're at. These are kind of marketing tactics. I'm going to go into this in possibly another talk in more detail. I'm going to go over a very high level, what are these various marketing tactics and kind of what they mean. And for many of you, it's you know this already. But when you have a website, you think about kind of the omni-channel approach, but you have a marketing website, or you even have a physical store, it doesn't matter. These are the different things to drive people into, your customers in. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. What that means is and it's all based on your website and also Google My Business. So when somebody's typing in best hair salon in Martin Luther King, Drive, whatever, is your website going to be the first one that comes up organically? So if you go on Google, you have the ads on the top and it says ads. The next grouping are what's called organic, and those are not ads, and that's completely driven by SEO. And there's stuff that you can do with that in terms of your website and making it more rich with certain keywords, that where somebody types in your business or your website will surface up. The next is email. And this is an area that I see a lot of businesses not leveraging enough. And actually email, for most of the business owners that I know, at least in e-commerce, it still represents 30 plus% of all revenue. People still read email, and it's a big driver. And really, you have your loyal customers, making sure you capture the email so that you can continue to remarket to them. Social media is another one, right? Are you guys on Facebook? Instagram? Some people like to be on TikTok. It's, you know, what, again, it depends on what your customers are. What we see is older demographic customers are on Facebook. Kind of the, you know, middle-aged millennial tends to be on Instagram. Young people and old people tend to be on TikTok, not as so much in the middle. It's really interesting, kind of the TikTok demographic, but kind of wherever they're at, just kind of making sure that you're there. The next part is influencer marketing. So you have people who are really great at word of mouth, and those can be local influencers too. You know, when influencers don't have to be necessarily just like an online person, you know, recommending a product. It could be someone working at a credit union, you know, saying, "Oh, I love this store. You got to check it." Those are like your word of mouth influencers. Those are so powerful. In-store events. I mean, again, you guys have, a lot of you have a physical store. How are you leveraging your physical space? Are you doing education? Are you doing kind of community initiatives? Can you partner with other, you know, one thing I've seen really well is partnering with adjacent businesses to kind of, you know, have a day where you can kind of jump around to all the stores and there's like a percentage off or something like that for this grouping of stores. You're also leveraging all of their social media and all of their ways of promoting for a particular event. Customer loyalty is huge. Again, you've done the hard work getting the one customer in, they like your product. How do you, you know, kind of continue to serve their needs? Search engine marketing, which is SEM. Those are the ads on Google that I talked about. So you have ads and then you have organic. That's something you have to pay for. And then publicity, you know, what type of initiatives that you're doing. And don't shortchange yourself. I mean, there's a lot of people who do amazing things and they don't tell anyone about it though. So how do we tell people about all the amazing things that you guys are doing? And, you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can drive that. So I kind of talked about some of the marketing initiatives, right? Like there's like this whole thing of and thing is, don't be like, oh man, I got a lot of work to do, right? You look at this, focus on one, focus on two. Like you don't have to do it all. And some things may not make sense for you, you know, like I'll give you an example. Even with a lot of big brands that I know, they don't do a lot in SEO. They have something, let's say they have make yoga pants. Great, you're going to try to optimize search engine optimization on Google for yoga pants. What are you going to put yoga? There's so many, right? So they're looking, is depending on what type of product or service you have, SEO may not be the right call for you, right? But influencer marketing may be, you know, publicity may be, partnerships may be, but, you know, so you have to kind of cater to these tactics based on the type of product or service that you have. So we talked about kind of marketing, right? Which is kind of getting the business, you know, getting people in the door. Let's talk about like kind of driving sales. And when you boil down what you need to do to drive sales, it only comes down to three things. When I say only, it's really hard, but but like when you kind of think about it, it's three main things. Customer acquisition, which we talked about with the marketing slides, right? Of how are you getting new customers into the door? And that's like kind of, it could be an online door, it could be a physical door. Like, what does that look like? We talked about that with the marketing. And also, what are your customer acquisition costs? So do you actually have a budget or a line item for getting customers? Do you have a budget line item for social media ads or boosting kind of, you know, ads on Meta? You know, really think about that and maybe think about that in the beginning of the year so that you're not just reacting. You know, think about, okay, what are some big promotional things that we want to do for the year and how do we kind of drive towards that? And so number one, just getting customers in. The next is average order value. When they're coming in, how much on average are they spending? You can pull all this stuff up in your Square or whatever. You can see what your AOV is. And this is really important because how do you drive AOV? There's a lot of things you can do actually. Can you put something close to the register that's a really quick kind of add-on? Again, like I said, how are you really catering towards the entire customer? Oh, you're going on a trip, you should buy also, hey, have you thought about wearing compression socks on your trip too? We have some. Have you thought about, you know, this moisturizer is really great for the plane because you're going to get, your face is going to get really dry. I don't know, like whatever that may be. There's a lot of different approaches to increasing average order value. But if you're not intentional about it, it's not going to happen. You know, at the end of the day, it's just really making sure that you think about what's your baseline. And it's kind of a fun thing. Where am I now? What's my AOV now? And then if you actually think about initiatives to drive AOV and then track it in a month from now and see how much that's changed, that's going to be an amazing thing. I'll give you an example that's kind of simple, but we recently, even on our website for one of my businesses, we decided in the checkout to put customer reviews and then also to surface some other products that people may like where they can just add to cart really quickly in the checkout. We just did this about like 2 weeks ago. Our average order value went from $77 to $84, which, you know, but across, you know, thousands of orders, like that adds up, right? That's pretty good. And just off of like a simple little thing like that, that's just an example of what it can look like online. But there's tons of things in the store and even how you're treating your staff to think about that in this kind of way and track it. People love contests too. Staff loves contest. The next thing is lifetime value of the customer. So you got that customer in, they're spending X amount of money. Great. Let's not have a leaky bucket. How do we get that customer to kind of come back? How long are they coming back for? How long are you retaining that customer? And what are you doing to promote those customers and getting them to come back? You know, are you using email marketing to say, hey, we're doing a big promotion here, you should come by. We're doing this really fun brand initiative, or we're doing a wellness event, right? And we've got some booths on like an acupuncturist and this and you know, whatever that may be, to really kind of engage those people to get them to come back. And so when you think about sales, I know each one of these, you can just spend your entire year focusing on customer acquisition or you know, all of these things, but it just driving sales boils down to these three. These are our three main, I would say, KPIs, key performance indexes that we use for my businesses. And again, by being intentional about it and actually measuring it, that's the only way you're going to improve it. Any questions on this? Yeah.
What was your focus when you did for your compression socks? Was it like SEO?
Oh yeah, so it was on SEO. Yep, because we did a little bit of work to see how our competitors are doing from an SEO perspective, and it was pretty weak. We didn't do, and so that we focus pretty much, and we also focus a lot on PR. And then, like I said, from a sales channels standpoint, we went to brick and mortar stores. So we sold our product to wholesale our product to stores because it required education. Another thing to think about too is when you think of SEO too, I'll give you an example of even just my business to kind of ground it a little bit. When I did search engine optimization, I didn't try to get ranking for the word compression socks. Here's why. People are like, I don't understand. You're not ranking for compression socks. Well, when people are typing in compression socks, they're not ready to buy right then and there. They're researching compression socks. I want to get so when you think of SEO, you have keywords, but you have what's called long tail keywords. So we actually started to bid for compression socks for nurses, compression socks for wider calves, because we have products that are really good for that. Because by the time that they're ready to make a purchase, they've already done that work and they typed in compression socks to see what's out there. When they do a longer tail keyword, on the whole, they have a higher intent to buy. So there is a strategy when you think about SEO. It's not just like, I want to rank for compression socks. Is that going to convert though? And are you going to make money? Or are they just going to go on your site and do research and then buy something somewhere else? Right? The key is like not just to do it for just because you're doing it and to have like vanity of like, I rank #1 for compression socks. It's like, okay, what is that keyword doing for my sales? Yeah. So one thing that I want to talk about, and we're going to get back to this with ShopDot, which is my second company, but what we're seeing now is the structure of retail is starting to change. So people sometimes pigeonhole themselves. They say, I do retail. I don't do service. Like I don't offer any type of service. Or they're like, I do service. I don't sell any products, right? That's not what they do. But at the end of the day, what do the customers want, right? They want to be kind of taken care of in their whole self, right? They want to know what that entire experience is for them. And so lines are starting to blur between people who are, product or retail businesses and service businesses. Even simple things like there's just, store that recently opened up in our town that they do kind of sell wellness products, but they also have, an esthetician in the back. Right. And so the customers that are coming in, so they have their store where they sell beauty and wellness, but they kind of have a little partnership with an esthetician who has a room in the back. So even though, so they're kind of combining kind of the product and the service component to thing. Same thing with service. I'll give an example of, a hair stylist, right? You go in, you see them every 8 weeks. They love the product. What do I do with my curly hair, my straight hair? But salon, stylists generally don't do retail. And so it's like, how could a stylist or, whatever that may be, start to incorporate retail into their service business? And so that is a big thing that we're starting to change, that we're seeing starting to change, because it's all about how do you kind of take care of that entire customer and what their needs are, and not just stop there. Oh, I just cut the hair. I don't provide any recommendations. Well, you're like their local influencer, right? You've done the curation. You already know all the stuff. And so how do you actually not only offer that, but make it easier for them to purchase from you? And that's really kind of where ShopDot has come in. So ShopDot is my second company. I just launched this company. We're partnering with the Soul District on this as well. But it's a way where any business can create what's called a shoppable page, and they can partner with brands. So we have brands already on the platform, and it's free for brands to join. And any business can publish the content and inventory from any of the brands and start selling to their customers immediately. So where we're seeing, for example, in the beauty and wellness space for you, that, you can have your brands on there and create a shoppable page. And what you do is you make a percentage of the sale. And the brands ship it out to them. So for the business, they don't have to worry about inventory. They don't have to worry about shipping. All they're doing is really providing, the product of curated products to their customer. And so we built this platform. And I built this mainly because I saw the challenges with the brick and mortar stores that I was working with my first business. I would have the retailers calling my team saying, hey, I'm out of stock on this size. Can you ship it to the customer? Or like, this customer saw this style on your Instagram page. I never carried it. And I was like, man, I've got products sitting in a warehouse. I've got retailers that want to sell my product. Yet there's this disconnect. I'm not getting my product to the retailer's customer more effectively. And when I started to dig deeper, the retailers were like, we need this to be easy. We're short-staffed. How do we make this really simple? And so it's really easy for retailers. It takes probably 10-15 minutes for them to do. Essentially, they can build the shoppable page. All they do is put their logo on, their banner on, and then they can invite any of their brands on to join, and they just click publish. And at that point, they can share that shoppable page with any of their customers. They can embed it onto an existing website. If they already have a website as their shop page, which is why it's called ShopDot. So it's like the idea that, really any business can really engage in retail. We're actually working with the Soul District to create a shoppable page for their website of some of the brands that are within their members as well. So what's great about it is it's not limited to traditional retailers. It could be service businesses. It could be nonprofits. Any community organization can generate incremental revenue by selling products. And it's a win for the brands. The brands are like, great, you're reaching more customers. And it's a win for the retail business because they can service their customers more effectively and make incremental revenue. And so that's essentially what ShopDot is. This is just an example of kind of, it's really easy. It's just, the banner ad that you put up, and then you can publish anything there. And there's, again, a lot of opportunities with that. But what we're offering any of the Soul District's members is Shannon and our team are open to actually building your shoppable page. So if you have any kind of retailers or services that are interested in creating one, we'll work with them to actually create the banner, upload their logo. It takes just a couple minutes, and then we'll get any of their brands onto the platform, and they can start selling product. So that is essentially it. I don't know if you have any questions or anything. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I think that sounds great, Michelle, because there's got to be also a retailer that says, how much inventory do I need to purchase, because I only have a certain budget to buy 20 pairs of jeans, and so
exactly,
or I only have the shelf space. So then having the shoppable page, maybe those people in the store can help direct the customers. I mean, do you ever hear of them using like an iPad or a tablet?
Exactly. So that's exactly it too. So even the retailers, they can sell beyond the products they have in stock. So if they're out of stock on something, at least they can get it to the customer immediately, because you're not losing the customer. Because if the customer comes in and they can't make the purchase, they leave and they'll buy it somewhere else. But with ShopDot, they can actually build the shoppable page, have all of the real-time inventory directly from their brands, and still close the transaction. We actually have a couple of resources too. I don't know if you guys can see this, but we provide these 10 cards to our physical businesses. And what we're doing is we're putting the QR code for their shoppable page. And so any of the retailers, they can put them in their store, and any of the customers, and some people don't like to talk to people, and they'd rather they just want to close a transaction. But if you have these around, they can go in and still shop with the retailer and keep the dollars with them. That's kind of the entire point of ShopDot. But we have these 10 cards. Other things that we're working on that we've heard feedback that retailers wanting is even something on the outside of their window with a QR code of their shoppable page too. So if they're walking by, and at least they have access to it, and they can, again, purchase through them. And what's cool is that most businesses are curating all of their favorite things onto one place.
That's great. I love the window idea. Maybe your store is even closed and I'm walking by at night after dinner.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I remember you saying you can embed this on your website. So also you can connect this to other domain names.
Yep, exactly. That's what I mean. So you can pick your own domain name. So let's say you do your name is James, right? Shop.james.com or whatever. And this will come up, essentially, but people are going on your domain. So it's a really simple, if you own let's say you buy it on GoDaddy, we provide directions on how to do that. But you could completely have it under your domain. Any other questions?
So, Michelle, can you explain a little bit the difference between, like the brands that you can, how would you search for a brand that would align with your store?
So there's a couple. Oh, yeah. So the question was, if I'm a kind of a retail partner or a sales partner, how do I find brands? What's great is that you can search, and we can do demos as well with any retail partners here too, but it's really easy. You can search by brand category and all those brands would surface. You can also search by product, and you can see what brands have that type of product. So there's 2 ways that you can find the brand, and all you do is click connect. And then what happens is the connect message goes to the brand and they approve, because the brand has to say yes, I approve this retailer. And once they approve you can publish any of their products that they give you access to onto your shoppable page. So it's a really simple process.
You always have to carry the product of the brand in your store?
No, that's a beauty of ShopDot. So the question was, do you have to carry the product of that brand in your store? The beauty is you don't. You can maybe have whatever's in your store, but then have something even beyond what you physically have in stock on your shoppable page, which is that's kind of the point of the platform, is allowing them to sell more brands and products that they love but maybe can't afford to buy, and have all the inventory in stock.
Can you?
That's a little tricky though, like because some brands have a minimum amount of order, and they're not always willing to kind of go below that. So if you have a physical retail location and you have your brands that you shop from, they don't generally are very open to those kind of things. So how have you been able to bring the brands on board when they already have their practices?
Yeah, so the question is, how does that work for brands? Because some brands require some type of minimum order requirement in order to kind of bring it into the store. We've actually been able to get through that even for those brands. And the reason for this is they look at this as a marketing opportunity, not less of a sales opportunity, not as a wholesale business. So this is a separate, what's been really interesting is the brands that we're chatting with understand that this is more of a marketing play, almost like an affiliate program or an influencer program, more so than you're a wholesale business. I'm selling it to you at wholesale pricing, and you're stocking it. Right. In that situation, they're giving you 50% profit margins. With ShopDot, they're actually, the way they're paying the retailer is a percent of the retail price. So it's like maybe they give you 20% or 25%. So it's not quite, from a margin standpoint, your margins are going to be better if you buy product and store it. They want you to do that. They want you to buy in bulk and then have it in your store. But this is like, where you still get to make money, still have more product offering. But the whole structure of it is completely different than wholesale. So that's how we've been. And once I explain that to the brands, they totally get it. And some of these brands are big brands too. Okay. Yeah, they're big brands. Yeah, some of these brands are like, they sell to 8,000 retailers. They sell to the big box store. So they look at this as more of like a marketing play, where they can, reach more customers.
And Michelle, we got a question there from Venture Portland. How many Portland-based brands do you work with for retailers that want to support primarily local brands?
That's something we want to build.
That's what we're trying.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do, because we just launched, honestly. And so, well, the reason this is our kind of first, I would say, foray into the Portland area. And what we want to do is actually bring as many Portland brands on and help the Portland retailers be able to, again, sell more of the Portland brands or the Oregon-made brands. And so that is that's kind of why we're here. And what's great is that our business development manager, Shannon, lives in Portland. And so she can help, meet with any of the businesses and get any of the brands on board. We launched our beta last year just to make sure everything is working really well. The shoppable page feature we just launched this week, and we're converting all of our retailers and starting to build their shoppable page now. And our push is really to, get as many Portland brands on.
And we have Willis is asking, what about sauces? If you could ask him to elaborate on that. We have Mr. Willis Anderson on there.
Hi, Willis.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So, is your question about sauces?
Since I have 8 different brands, 8 different flavors, how would you do about doing that?
Yeah. So, right now, the way that we work for brands is that we integrate with Shopify. We will be, I don't know, right now, we will be integrating with WooCommerce and BigCommerce. So I don't know what and what happens is it pulls in all of your product listing content as well as your real-time inventory from those systems right into ShopDot. And then if all of your 8 products would just show up pretty much with the click of a button, is how we can work with you on that, Willis. We can follow up with you and talk to you about how we can get your product on. Because I know, Alex and Fawn were saying that they, love to get your product onto the shoppable page that they're building too. So we'll work on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Michelle, how long does it normally take to get a shoppable page up and going?
We've had people get it up as quickly as 15 minutes, because it's really, they fill out a retailer profile. So it's just like who they are, and what categories of products they're interested in. And then they have to fill out a getting paid, because we got to, how we going to pay you for your commission, right? Your percent of sale. And then the third part is your store. And the store is you're just putting your logo on there and then putting a banner, and that's it. And then you've got your shoppable page. And that's something. So we have Shannon will actually help any of the businesses within the Soul District build their shoppable page too. So if anyone needs help with even the banner and creating that too, we can help with that. It's something we don't offer everyone, but we're here and Shannon's here, so we're doing it special for Alex and Fawn.
Sounds good.
And the next question we had is, how is it different than drop shipping?
It's not. It's drop. It's like, but the difference is, it's exactly drop shipping because the brand is drop shipping. So that's a great question. Where I think we're really unique is that most drop shipping platforms are just back end. They do not allow you to create a shoppable page. So they require you to integrate drop shipping into your Shopify store or your BigCommerce store. But frankly, what retailer is going to kind of technically difficult, right? To integrate all these products from a drop shipping platform into your existing Shopify store. So that's number one. The other big difference is that what's really cool for retailers is that they don't have to even handle, obviously, inventory shipping or tax and accounting challenges, because it's the brands who are shipping out the product. It's a brand's inventory, and the brand is actually the merchant of record. So the retailer doesn't have to handle sales tax. How do I do with that? All they're doing is getting paid their kind of commission percent of sales from the brand for kind of getting the sale on the shoppable page. So I would say the big difference is it's a hands-free way for any business to sell things. And we obviously handle the drop shipping, which we've spent a lot of time building out, but we also have this awesome front end, which allows you to stand up a shoppable page like that without having to figure out how do you learn Shopify and do all that stuff.
And then the next question is, how do you select the products you want to sell?
So you would do that on your own, so the question is, how do you select the products that you want to sell? That's the magic of you as like kind of the business. That's you. The key is to not just like, oh, there's all these brands, I'm going to connect with all of them and put them all on. Like, that's not the point. The point is like, what are the brands that you really love and recommend? And we will help you get them on. I mean, pretty much any retailer that has said, can you get this brand on? The brand's like, of course, why wouldn't I get onto the platform, right? Because it's just, there's no reason, because it's like they have a retailer wanting to sell their product, and that's what brands want. And so that's really up to you. We do make some recommendations too. Like, so if you need a little bit of assistance, Shannon and I, but Shannon knows all the brands, so she can say, you may want this product on here based on what I'm seeing and hearing from this brand or whatnot. So we can assist with that, but that's, really for you to be able to curate, but obviously we can help too.
So is there any way to set it up so, like, if I'm a retailer, like for example, like Willis's sells barbecue sauce, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's products he doesn't sell it complements barbecue sauce, like, I don't know,
A grill.
like chips or something, a grill. And I could find that from a different brand.
Yeah.
Is there any way to like integrate that together? So
Oh yeah. So you can build your shoppable page. What's really great is you bring products from whatever brands you want. And the checkout experience for the customer. So let's say they buy these chips from a brand, and then the barbecue sauce from this other, brand. It's one checkout experience for the customer. What we do is we triage those orders to brand A and brand B. That's our platform. Like, our platform pushes, so it's really great because a customer just can select anything. They don't think, oh, it's this brand and that brand. No, they just want those chips and they just want that barbecue sauce. They check out, and then we kind of push those orders to the respective brands. They ship it, tracking information gets shared back to the customer, and so all of that comes from, really you as a retail partner.
Is ShopDot providing any type of report, whether it be monthly or quarterly, to retailers that don't maybe have that brand in their physical location, but they're selling a lot of units per ShopDot?
So there is a dashboard. So the dashboard will show kind of what's selling well. And maybe one thing we can add in the future is more kind of account management, or maybe a report that standardized gets sent to them, where they can see like, oh, wow, And that's a beauty from the brand perspective too, because the brand's like, oh, maybe they want to test out my product with ShopDot and build it and sell product. And if they're selling a lot, again, it benefits the retailer to, buy it and have it in their store. But it's a nice testing ground for these businesses where they don't have to kind of commit right away. They could actually, start to sell it, see it's popular with their customers, and then, bring it into the store.
Other one is how is your product? How are you familiar with Alibaba? If so, how is your model different than theirs?
So Alibaba is totally different in that it's a place where you find the manufacturer from like overseas. So like if you're trying to look for someone to make a pen or something like that, and you want to put your logo on the pen, you go to Alibaba, and then you'll have all these manufacturers from like China and Vietnam and South Korea like come up, and you work directly with people overseas. ShopDot is a place for businesses to sell brands, like Willis's barbecue sauce, like Vim and Vigor compression socks. These are brands, and right now we're only based in the US, so they're US businesses right now. And so it's selling, so it's a different type of play.
Is this more like Gumroad, but for physical products?
It is like Gumroad, but for physical products. That's a good point. Yeah. So Gumroad is kind of like a creator kind of platform for digital products, allowing other people to sell other people's digital products. We're just allowing people to sell physical products. So, yeah.
So I don't see any more questions.
Yeah, James.
Oh, no, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, Shannon.
Oh, I just wanted to know if you could give a couple examples of how non-traditional retailers and businesses could use the the shoppable page.
Yeah, so a couple of examples that we're seeing is we actually have, like pet groomers, for example, on our platform, and pet brands. So pet groomers, they don't normally sell product; they're a service, right? Dog owners bring their dog in once every 8 weeks or so. But they have so much influence over the customer and what they recommend, maybe, whatever it's like toys or dog treats or whatever. And so talking to dog groomers, it's great incremental revenue. So we're actually talking to like a dog grooming franchise business right now where they want to have their franchisees, create a shoppable page because again, and even have the QR code on their business cards, have the QR code even on their mobile like grooming trucks. Like, and it's just incremental revenue because again, selling product isn't their primary thing, but they love products, they recommend product, and they're only going to put products that they love and recommend on there. And so that is like one example of a service business that can easily just incorporate like kind of a product sale and make more money.
So Michelle, before we wrap it up, so you're going to be coming back for a second half of this presentation next month. If you could just give a quick bullet review of what that's going to look like.
So I'm going to dig a little deeper in terms of the marketing tactics and kind of sales approaches, like kind of very, I kind of glossed over it, but I'm going to dig a little deeper on the marketing tactics that we talked about of kind of getting the customers in the door and then how to actually drive sales and what are some different approaches. And like, again, I skimmed over it today, but we'll definitely go over into more detail the next time.
So awesome. If there's any more questions, I'll get that.
James, did you have one more? Did you have one more?
I did. So I don't know if you said this already, but with the brands, will they be able to pick their own like commission percentage?
Yep.
That's set by
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So each when you hit so the question was, can the brand set their own commission percentage per retail partner? And the answer is yes. So they can set 15% for this person, 25% for this other person. They can also pick which products they make available for each retail partner. So they have a lot of kind of options there too. Because at the end of the day, the brand needs to control their distribution. So that's why they can approve the retailer or decline them. If they're like, I'm selling to too many places in this area, maybe they decline. They get to also pick what the commission percentage is and the products.
I don't see any more questions.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll hop on there.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank
Okay,
you.
guys. So right before we wrap it up, so as Michelle said, we're gonna have a continuation of this next month. That second half of it is gonna be really good. Again, keep in mind about driving foot traffic, right? Foot traffic doesn't always only have to be physical. We have opportunities to drive digital foot traffic. So what we're gonna be doing is working on a partnership with ShopDot, where we're gonna have all Soul District members, and hopefully everyone within our district will they'll be able to shop for with our retailers through our website. So trying to create more exposure for the businesses who have a membership with us and that are within our district. So make sure you have I put Michelle's contact info in the chat, so please save that, and I'll also be following up with you all with a survey, and I'll have her information on there as well as Shannon on there. So super excited that she was able to present today. Again, I know a lot of times with our retailers, a lot of you are starting to do a lot more business through digital sales, especially on the Shopify piece of it. Because when I get out there, I'm seeing, it may seem like there's nothing going on in the stores, but then I'm looking at your sales and it's 60 to 70% is all online. So the more you can maximize on that, the better. And then again, like the example that she gave with Willis, right? You're selling barbecue sauces, but now you want to partner up with somebody who might be selling grills. You're not going to be carrying that inventory for grills, right? So now you don't have to worry anything, but they'll be able to sell it to them, send it out to them, no inventory carried, and you make a little bit of money off that while creating more brand exposure for your product as well. So some super exciting stuff. Again, look out for that survey, and then I'll have all her contact information on there. That's it.
All right,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
Guys?
That was great.
Yeah.